Canterbury Road in Croydon. This street is unlike any other. Ever since I was a child, it's given me chills. But what really terrified everyone was the old council house on one corner, with its dark and tragic history. People in the neighborhood whispered that the house was cursed, but no one dared to speak about it openly. It took a lot of courage just to go near it. One night, my friends and I decided to test our bravery by approaching that house. That night turned out to be one of the biggest mistakes of my life. Even now, just hearing the name Canterbury Road sends shivers down my spine. Canterbury Road in Croydon looks like an ordinary street. Old council houses line both sides, their outlines fading into the fog under dim streetlights. But one house, that house has been abandoned for years. The story goes that a family once lived there, but after a tragic event, the house was left empty. No one knows exactly what happened, but people say you can feel something off about it. Some even claim to have seen someone watching them from the windows at night. One day, my friends and I were walking down Canterbury Road when we decided to dare each other to go near the house. The challenge was simple. Whoever touched the door would be the bravest. At first, no one wanted to step forward. But then Leon, the bravest among us, not only touched the door, but opened it and went inside. We stood outside, frozen with fear, listening to the sound of his footsteps echoing inside the house. And then, suddenly, a piercing scream shattered the silence. Moments later, Leon came bursting out of the house. His face was pale, his eyes wide with terror. He could barely speak, but he managed to mutter, "She's watching me," waiting in the basement. Leon was never the same after that night. He stopped talking, stopped smiling, and became a shadow of his former self. He never told anyone exactly what he saw inside that house, but his fear was unmistakable. Not long after, his family moved away from Croydon. That night marked a turning point for all of us. The house on Canterbury Road became the stuff of legend. People passing by late at night claimed to see shadows in the windows or hear faint whispers coming from inside. But no one dared to get close again. Years passed, and I eventually moved away from Croydon. But one day, work brought me back to Canterbury Road. The house was gone, replaced by an empty lot. Still, walking past that spot sent a cold shiver down my spine, as if something or someone was still there. That night I had a dream so vivid it felt real. In my dream I was back on Canterbury Road, standing in front of the house. I stepped inside and made my way to the basement door. As I opened it, I heard a voice whisper, "Why have you returned?" I woke up in a cold sweat. My heart was pounding. Canterbury Road in Croydon might seem like any other street now. But for those who know its history, it will never be just another place. If you ever find yourself walking down Canterbury Road, especially at night, be careful. Some things never truly leave, and perhaps the curse of that house is still waiting, hidden in the shadows. After that chilling experience, I tried to convince myself it was just stress or a vivid imagination. But the incidents kept happening. Flickering lights turned into objects, moving on their own. Doors I knew I had locked would creak open in the middle of the night, and the whispers, they grew louder. Sometimes it sounded like my name. Other times it was unintelligible, like a child's desperate plea. I avoided looking into mirrors too long, afraid of what I might see staring back at me. To understand the curse better, I began researching the history of Canterbury Road. I found old newspapers mentioning that the house had been built over an orphanage. One name kept appearing: Annabelle, a girl who went missing under mysterious circumstances. Locals claimed they could hear her crying in the basement long after the orphanage was gone. Her tragic story seemed to be the source of the curse surrounding the house. The more I learned, the more terrified I became, but I couldn't stop. I returned to Canterbury Road, standing where the house used to be. The air felt heavy and cold, even though it was a warm evening. I thought I heard whispers carried by the wind, faintly saying, "Don't forget me." My legs trembled as I stepped forward, feeling an invisible force urging me to uncover the truth. Standing on the lot, I whispered her name, Annabelle. For a moment, there was only silence. Then the air grew colder, and I heard the sound of a child sobbing. It was faint but unmistakable. Suddenly, a shadow formed behind me, looming larger and darker. It surged toward me, and before I could scream, everything went black. I woke up with the sensation of icy fingers on my skin. I woke up in my bed, but something felt different. My apartment was eerily quiet, as if the air itself had stopped moving. Everything seemed normal, yet I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. Then I saw a small handprint on the dusty window. It wasn't mine. The realization hit me like a wave. Whatever had been at Canterbury Road had followed me. The curse hadn't left me. Over the following days, strange events became a part of my life. Lights flickered, objects moved, and footsteps echoed through the halls at night. One night I woke up to see a shadowy figure at the foot of my bed. It leaned closer, and in a voice that was both sorrowful and terrifying, it whispered, "Why did you leave me?" I couldn't move. I could only watch in horror. Now, I live far away from Croydon, but Canterbury Road is a memory that will never fade. Sometimes in the dead of night, I still hear that faint whisper. If you ever find yourself near Canterbury Road, remember this. Some places never let go of their past. Some curses never truly end. And Annabelle, she's still waiting.